Welcome back to another episode of Driven in Her Purpose. I'm Rosie Leonore, your host, and I'm so happy that you can join me today. Today, we have another very special guest. And before I introduce you, though, I do want to make a special announcement. I want to announce that my Facebook group, community group, is now open. It is now open, ladies. I am so excited about it. I'm going to go ahead and link it in the show notes. And I also have a freebie in there that I've had for a little free gift for you, 31 proverbial affirmations and insight for women leaders and entrepreneurs. So if you want that, you want to grab that, go ahead and do so. I'm happy to send that to you. It's my gift to you that I worked with so much love so that I could help give you a little affirmation through the wisest book in the Bible, which is Proverbs. All right, ladies, well, let's get started. I wanted to introduce my special guest today, Alisha Carlson. Alisha, thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi, Rosie. Thank you so much for having me. It's definitely a pleasure and a privilege to be here with you.
The honor is mine. I've been following your podcast and I want us to hear all about it and all about what you do. So why don't we start I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So my name is Alisha Carlson, as you alluded to. I am a wife and a mom. I have been a believer for oh my gosh, it was 2007 was when I became saved. You would think I would be a little bit better at math. I think it's about 15 years so far. And that really has been kind of a whirlwind journey. I think, it's definitely is a continuous journey, but God is thankfully so gracious and so patient with me. And really over these past 3 years, I feel like he has kind of just taken me to some new depths and I think just a greater understanding of who he is and who I am as his daughter. So I love that. I am super active. I love fitness. I love working out. That really is, I think, kind of the heartbeat of why I do what I do. So about 14 years ago, I started my own fitness journey. Up to that point, I would say I kind of dabbled, I would try like the 6-week programs or different things like that you would see on magazine covers. And I would hit it hard for a few days, jump on the scale, not see any movement there, and just feel so defeated and so discouraged. And so I would kind of give up. And I kind of teeter-tottered that way, I would say, for years. And then in 2007 was the year that my husband and I were getting married. And like so many women, I wanted to look good. I wanted to feel good. I had this image of myself walking down the aisle. And so I really committed to my fitness journey that year. Him and I kind of started running together and, he sort of fell off. That was like a work competition that they were having sort of in the new year, but I actually kept running. And that was really kind of a cool thing. I don't think I noticed it so much then, but as I reflect back, for me, that was kind of the first time I think that fitness was used in my life to really break through kind of a glass ceiling. Like up to that point, I was, I would say, oh, I'm not a runner. I can't run to save my life. Just like all of these things that I was kind of speaking over myself, that really was my reality. And so to then just kind of, even for a moment, sort of suspend those beliefs about myself, figure out, okay, I'm just going to run one light pull at a time, take a break as I need it, and then, slowly pick up and increase distance. And so I started with running. I would say that was kind of my gateway into the fitness world. I went from running and then I went into weightlifting, did some figure competitions there. And so really my experience has been kind of on both ends of the spectrum. One being inactive, kind of the couch potato, not really taking care of myself, to the other end and being super extreme, which is really kind of what leads me to doing the work that I do now, which is helping women kind of ditch the diet mentality, break up with that dieting, so that they can create food freedom, find joy in movement, and really make peace with their bodies long before they reach their goals.
And I love that. Thank you for sharing. I love that part of what you just said, finding joy in movement, which I want to talk about that. because I know I sure want to find joy in movement, and I haven't quite gotten there yet, especially in the mornings. And also make peace with their bodies long before they reach their goals. I love that. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means, maybe to you, or what that means maybe for other women that you've worked with?
Yeah, do you want to talk about finding joy in movement or
Yeah,
leading?
first I want to talk a little bit about finding joy in movement, and really how we can do that so that we can work out and go ahead and move however it is that we need to move. And then we'll talk about the finding peace before they reach their goals.
Yeah, so I mean, I would be remiss in saying that I didn't start exercise loving it. Like that was definitely me too. It was like, oh, this is just kind of something that I have to do. It's sort of a means to an end. And for a majority of the years of my own journey with fitness and nutrition and stuff like that, it really was fueled by a desire to change my body, to look a certain way, to lose weight, very much rooted in kind of diet culture, diet mentality. And so there was like a lot of pressure on myself to do the workouts perfectly, to have, the perfect nutrition. And I think, in some ways that kind of robbed me from really learning how to love exercising for everything else that it did for my body, for my mental health, my emotional health. And so slowly, I would say, like, if you are the person right now that does not love exercise, just know that probably all of us started there at some point. But it's about finding the type of workouts, I guess, that you kind of can tolerate for now. And then it's just staying consistent enough with it that it kind of grows on you, right? And I think, for some people, we think like, oh, I have to go to the gym. But if that brings about like a ton of anxiety, like then maybe that's not going to be your ideal place to work out. For other people, they know that they will push themselves harder if they're in kind of a group environment, or if they have a coach or a trainer, or, they're in more of a public setting or a space. So I think finding joy in movement, number one, it's just it might just be an exploratory period. So kind of try some different things, figure out what types of exercises you like to do and what kinds of environments. And then I think too, of course, it's going to be changing the story that you're telling yourself about it, right? So if it's this chore, if it's this thing that you have to do, if it feels like it's this heavy burden, it doesn't matter what you're doing, you're probably not going to find much joy in it. So if you feel like you're so heavily focused on needing to lose weight, needing your body to change, and you're using exercise as that vehicle, that could just be a really good place for you to kind of explore. And then it's like, what if we just took the pressure off of like your body having to change? And what if we started to focus instead on everything else that, lifting weights or going for a run or a walk or taking a dance class is doing for you mentally, emotionally, and physically.
And, speaking of working out, I think a lot of times women can, like myself included, either can truly have time issues, or maybe we can put in our heads that we have time issues. I don't know. I think it's more like we can put in our head that we have time issues. But what advice would you give to women who are saying, I really don't have the time? How would you help them to overcome that mindset?
Yeah, I think the first step there is maybe kind of challenging that thought or that belief, right? So it's, maybe you don't have, if you're thinking in your head that you have to work out for at least 60 minutes a day or else it doesn't count, then we want to challenge that, right? Because it's like even 10 minutes a day starting out, or if you can find like 2 10-minute pockets and you're going for a walk, and then maybe you're doing, a quick body weight circuit or something like that. So I think first I would just encourage you to kind of challenge the thought or the belief that you don't have time. So what would be enough time, or how much time are you thinking you need to exercise in order for it to quote unquote count? And then, once you kind of can get to the bottom of that, because if it doesn't take you 60 minutes at a time, could you find 20 minutes to, put on a workout DVD, or, find a YouTube video or something like that and sweat it out at home? And then, on a more, I guess, strategic level, it really is kind of planning those things in. So I know that sounds super cliched, but we put things on our calendars that are important to us, that matter to us. And I think a lot of times we take the attitude of like, well, I'll find time to work out. But if it's not something that you look forward to yet, or hasn't become a part of your daily routine, you're not going to be as likely to schedule that. So again, sometimes it is that, just scheduling it on your calendar and then following through and sticking with that until it becomes a part of your habit and your routine.
That is so true. I remember in the beginning of the school year, I'm a teacher, so last school year, I made a decision to, at minimum, because I'm not a morning person when it comes to working out. I'm a morning person for other things. But what I did decide was to to do some stretches. So I found this really great lady on YouTube. She does 5-minute morning stretches. And I just fell in love with her because it just covered everything. And it was 5 minutes and it wasn't stressful. In fact, it kind of helped me to feel like the knots on my neck and my shoulder, that was loosened up every day just by, just by doing her workout. So as the year progressed, I kind of slowed it down to 3 times a week, but I still kept it up for most weeks with a couple of weeks off. And what it did for me was less chiropractor visits. I was going there all the time for like stretching my stress nodules that you get as a teacher, because it's not an easy job, right? So just to even the 5 minutes was helping me. Of course, I want to take it up a notch now. Yeah, I do want to lose some weight, but just that right there, getting up and moving. I did, to me, getting into the mindset of this is 5 minutes. Anyone can do 5 minutes. And plus, do you want to keep spending a lot of copays at the chiropractor every single time? No, let that motivate you then. And I'm talking to myself, right? So then I continue to do it. And it has been such an amazing, that little decision right there has made a world of difference in my life.
And I think, you hit on a couple of key things that really helped you be successful with that. Is one, you were kind of meeting yourself where you were at. So it was like, okay, maybe I recognize that I don't have 30 minutes, but I have 5 minutes, or I'm willing to set aside these 5 minutes for this. And then I think the other thing too is just like knowing yourself and knowing like, I'm a morning person when it comes to certain things, but getting up and working out is not, like, that's not one of those things. And so I think that's another key to it, is kind of knowing yourself, knowing, within your schedule, like if you are working and you have to work around that, or you have kids and you're working around sport practices or their schedule. So knowing tangibly when you can like make time for your workouts, but then also knowing yourself and knowing like I have the most energy, or I'm feeling the most motivated at this time of day. Okay, well, great. Like, let's capitalize on that. Let's, again, working with yourself and not necessarily against yourself.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. That's really encouraging. I appreciate that. So the second part is, how would women make peace? How do you help women make peace with their bodies long before they reach their goals? Any tips on that?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of alluded to this or started to share this a little bit in my own journey, but for so many women, we have weight loss goals or we have physique goals, and we think that once we reach the specific number, or once we don't have, the love handles, or our body looks a certain way, then we have this idea of how we're going to be feeling about our bodies, feeling about ourselves. And oftentimes where we see ourselves at now, like maybe being, 10 or 15 pounds heavier than what we want to be or whatever, we see that as like a huge problem in the sense that we maybe don't take care of ourselves quite as well. We're not talking, quite as nicely to ourselves, kind of beating ourselves up and sort of postponing feeling good about ourselves or in our bodies until it looks or is a certain size. And so essentially, like making peace with your body before you reach your goals, it's whatever fitness or physique goal you have for yourself. So I know you mentioned, yeah, I do have a few pounds that I'd like to lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking your brain to the place of, okay, so when I reach that goal, when I'm that number on the scale, what are all the things that I'm going to be thinking about myself and feeling about myself or my body? And then and then it's like looking at, okay, what am I currently thinking about this number on the scale, or how my body looks now? And it's just kind of comparing the two. And then it's working essentially to start to build those thoughts and those beliefs and those feelings about yourself ahead of time, right? So it's like, if you have that certain set of thoughts or feelings that you think you're going to have, how can we start to practice those things now? Because essentially it's by you becoming the woman that is, 10 pounds lighter, that's going to be how you get to the goal, right? So, and then that prevents you from reaching that weight loss goal and still having all of those same negative thoughts or feelings about your body, because that was my experience. Was, I had dropped a ton of weight. I was the leanest I had ever been. And there was still a bunch of, body image stuff and insecurities and things like that. And so that was a huge indicator for me, like, okay, we have to do that internal work as well as the outside work.
Amen. Yeah, that is so true. Absolutely. I think it is really a mindset first. It's getting into that place where, at least for me, it was that, like, okay, I can do this. I can do 5 minutes. I know I can. I think anybody can, maybe not, but I know I can. So, I know what I can do, and I can start there. It's so funny. I remember the first couple of days of the school year when it's time for the teachers to set up the classroom, and you don't have students yet. So, you can get up a little later, not too late, because you still have to get there on time. But you can get up a little later and you can go and maybe more. So what I did is I worked out 3 days in a row on the elliptical. And then I took a shower and I got dressed and I went to school, and I was like, oh, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do 20 minutes every day. Man, when I got started with school, I was like, no, because, you need to be there early to set up everything, to make sure you have your lesson plans updated. Whether you're a teacher or whatever you do, you got to prep for the day. So I'm like, I don't think I can keep doing this. So I had to make that adjustment. But making that adjustment, was good enough for me at that point, because at least I was getting something in and getting that, meeting that need, that more urgent need that I felt that I had. And you talk about how, finding peace with your body long before you reach your goals. After you're a mom, I'm a mom, and I had 3 C-sections. My third child, she's a toddler, but I had her at 41. Now, my body at that point is not very easy to lose weight. Anyone in their 40s will attest to this, or higher will attest to that. So for me, it was harder to lose weight. I literally had to do my husband and I, we did it together. We counted calories, and we did it for like 4 months or so. And a little working out, walking around and stuff like that, walking in the neighborhood. That's it, very light. And in 3 months, once my metabolism started getting used to it, it was about a month and a half before I started actually seeing the weight loss come off. And I lost 16 pounds in 3 months. 16 pounds. I wrote it on my blog. I couldn't believe it. Why? Well, what happened? Well, first, I had at least a urgent need to lose at least a little weight of my baby weight. I started feeling so much more confident because I set out to do it. My husband accompanied me, which was so much help, because accountability, I think, is so important. And doing something with someone else, in my opinion, is probably better than doing it by yourself, at least in my experience. But I mean, it helped me. And I know I wasn't at my pre-baby weight, but you know what? It helped me to know that I could do this. And if I want to do it again, maybe not that way, a different way, but I can do it, So just getting started, just making goals like that, just like you say, even little things can help you to feel a little bit better. I'm not at my pre-pregnancy weight. And I certainly sometimes look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to lose belly, But I also love my body because it gave birth to my 3 beautiful children, and I don't regret any of it. So if this is the body that I'm going to have, because this is what I can have, and then I'm happy, because that's what my body did. It was the honor of having these babies. So just, I learned that, finding that, well, my body's like this because of this, and that's okay. I can always do better, sure, but I'm not going to put myself down about it, or think that I look terrible or whatever, and have that affect my confidence, because I didn't get it to where it was before I, became pregnant. Right. So
Well, and I think like that's a huge thing that you touched on, right? It's like for a lot of women that are on kind of a weight loss or a fitness journey, they don't feel like the body that they're in right now is worthy, right? It's not good enough. But once it looks a certain way or it is a certain size, then it'll be worthy. Then, it'll be all of these things. And so I think part of, what probably really helped you have that success that you did was that you were kind of coming from a different place, right? It wasn't like, oh, I'm disgusted, I hate my body, I don't, it's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, I have to fix
Exactly.
it. It
Hmm.
was, wow, look at what my body did. I want to take the best care of my body that I
Hmm.
can. And maybe, here are some places or here are some things that I can do to do that. So I think that's huge. And definitely having the support of your husband is phenomenal. And unfortunately, not every person out there has that support or has that accountability. And I think that's especially where having a coach can really be helpful, is that, if you're living with somebody who isn't maybe necessarily on the same journey as you and they don't want to be, like, that's fine, but you still get to decide if you want to work on those things and if you want to do those. And if you don't have that support or you don't have that accountability built in, then I think, engaging or hiring a coach or having
Yeah.
somebody outside of your family to support you, to be in your corner, to help you problem solve and troubleshoot is a phenomenal thing to have.
I truly am seeing more and more as I journey in my 40s, the importance of having mentorship, of having coaches, of having people in your life. I can really see the value in that. So speaking of coaching, Alicia, tell us what you offer to women and how can women connect with you? And then I'll ask you a couple more questions at the end.
Yeah, so currently what I offer is I work with my clients in a one-to-one capacity right now. We do work together for an entire year minimum. And I really do love that because it gives us the space. So if you have a client that kind of comes in and they hit the ground running, great. But you also have enough time to where, as life starts to creep back in and your schedule maybe gets a little bit crazier, then you have somebody there that can kind of help you navigate and sort of problem solve for that time. And then also, we move into a phase usually within that year that you also learn to have your results, right? I think so often we want just the quick fix. We want, things to happen super fast. And then we get discouraged when it doesn't, or, we have the results for a little while and then, we slip back into old habits, old patterns and things like that. And then it can kind of feel like you're constantly starting and stopping and getting back on the wagon. So I love that. I do also have a freebie on my website as well. So you can download that just at alishacarlson.com. It's called the Mindful Eating Project, and it's got an ebook that kind of walks you through a lot of my non-diet approach. Helps you kind of jumpstart if you're interested in learning how to eat with a more intuitive and mindful approach to nutrition. If you're not really wanting to track calories or macros anymore, but really still feel like you're feeding your body while you're taking care of yourself. So you can get that downloaded there. And then, of course, I have my podcast, The Strong Her Way, where I take a lot of the topics that we kind of discussed here, but go a little bit deeper. So it's fitness, nutrition, mindset, body image stuff. I like to do interviews on there every once in a while as well to get some other perspective coming in.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So I'd like to end the show with a couple questions. First of all, what is one of your favorite Bible verses?
So I am the horrible person that I know like roughly what it says.
It's
And
okay.
one of those things I'm like, I need to get better about knowing exactly where it's at.
It's okay.
But this was one that really came to mind. And I feel like there were a couple different times that this word came up. But it's that idea. I think it's where God is talking basically to Joshua as he's getting ready to lead them into the promised land. And he just keeps reminding them, do not be discouraged, do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you. And I think there's so many different parts of the Bible and so many different stories where you just hear that message over and over, like, don't be discouraged, don't be dismayed. And it's because God is with us, because the Lord our God is with us. It's not, don't be discouraged, don't be dismayed, because you got it, you can do it. It's because I've equipped you. It's because I'm with you, and therefore you can do it.
Amen. That's right. And what is one of your favorite motivational quotes?
Oh my gosh.
I know there's so many good ones out there.
Yeah. I'm like,
Or maybe one of your own.
I'm like, which one is coming up? I mean, I don't know if these are like super duper motivational, but the best time to start is always right now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
More ready.
Mm.
And then I think along those lines, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So
I love that. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Now is a good time to start. That's the message I try to give the women in my podcast is start now. What are you waiting for? You don't have to wait for perfect. Just get started, right?
100%. Yeah. Coming from a recovering perfectionist, I think, definitely don't wait for everything to be perfect because you'll be waiting forever.
Oh, yeah. And I think clarity also can come along the way once you start. Not all you can be a little clear, but you're going to get more clear as you get started. Without getting started, you can't get too much clarity. So,
100%,
so thank you so much, Alisha, for being here. It was really an honor for having you and for sharing all that you did. You brought so much value today to the podcast and to our women here listening. Thank you so, so much. And it was really, really great having you.
Yeah, thank you again, Rosie, for having me. And this was definitely an honor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And ladies, I will see you in the next one.